Welcome back to more Persona 1. So, with the Cavern all wrapped up, and we got the tones to fuse the ultimate personas, how about we talk about them now? So, first off, let's go over some, I guess, like, common features. So, to get the ultimate personas, in Spec at least, you need to answer some questions throughout the game correctly. If you saw the last part, you'll know what those questions are. It's a bit different from Snow Quest and also a lot harder. Mainly, you need to basically beat the dungeons in the opposite order, because the Snow Quest allows you to do the dungeons in the order. But yeah, we'll get into that when we get into that. But yeah, needless to say that if you want to see all the ultimate personas, it's a lot easier on Spec. Because Spec is generally the easier route in general. The next thing about the ultimate personas is that while they're not always the strongest in their arcana, they do have some neat qualities. I think the main one is the SP cost. Generally they cost 20 SP with a few exceptions, or at least one exception, which is very cheap for a persona that's around level 60. At that level they normally cost a lot more, like 30, 40 SP. So yeah, the ultimate personas prove very efficient to use. So yeah, that's another reason why they are considered quite good. Due to them being a tone fusion, they can only really be fused once. Especially because there's no New Game Plus in Persona 1. So yeah, that also means that return them is normally a bad idea, but I will be talking about the return items anyway, if you're willing to think about using them. But anyway, let's get started with our first persona, Ammon Ra for Naoya Todo. And yeah, this is Naoya's ultimate persona, of course. And yeah, just like the Stein personas, they can only be used by the character that they're basically linked to. So yeah, that means that Ammon Ra have best affinity with Naoya and worst with everyone else, so only Naoya can use Ammon Ra, but that's fine. So Ammon Ra is from Egyptian mythology. He's also known as Ammon Ra or Ammon Ra, and he was the chief of the Egyptian gods and was worshipped as two separate gods, being Ammon, the god who created the universe, and Ra, the god of the sun and light. And yeah, this explains why he's part of the Emperor Arcana, since he is the chief of the Egyptian gods and can also relate to Naoya being the leader of the party. His association with the sun and light can be seen in his skill set. Mainly, he does like using fire, like Agilao and Agidine, and I believe the light may come from that last skill. But anyway, for fusion, so a big difference in these bios is that I'm actually showing a recommended fusion. So that fusion is fusing a Yoma and a Jaki. This will give you a blue arrow down fusion, and the fusion I have there, which is Grimakala and Tengu, that will give you Garu Dino too. Alternatively, if you want something a bit more powerful but at a higher level, you can replace the Tengu with a Ganesha, and Ganesha has Magarudyne, so that's pretty good. These are not the only skills, but these are the skills it generally like, and also, of course, a lot of these fusions, I may aim for the skill inheritance, but yeah, some of these fusions may also come with a blue fusion, and blue fusion boosts stats more, so they are nice to go after. But anyway, so Ammon Ra themselves, they're alright. The main troll is level 8 skill, but I guess I can go with the others. Agilao is not that great. Garudyne at rank 2, if you decide to use that fusion, that I will probably do. That's pretty good, and so is Agidine, so you got some pretty decent element coverage there. Shimabu could be good, but the enemy needs to be vulnerable to it, otherwise it won't do much. Which yeah, bosses definitely aren't gonna be being able to bind, but yeah, if you're able to, it could be pretty good, because bind is a pretty painful stat. You get Shurai Geki, which is alright, nothing too amazing. It's not as good as Agidine or Garudyne in my opinion. And then finally there's Azure Cessation, which isn't as good as Agidine, which lands at rank 3, but it has higher range I do believe. So yeah, but we get to the final skill. This does take a long time to get to, but he gets Hieroglyphin at rank 8. So you may notice that it doesn't have a description. It's only 3 question marks. Well, I'll tell you what it does. It does heavy damage to Karma and Fiend Race demons. You may have seen some of those already. Mainly, it's a boss killer. It's called boss damage in Revelations of Sona. So yeah, Karma and Fiends are exclusive to bosses, and bosses in general take more damage from it. So yeah, that's basically what Hieroglyphin is used for. It's the best attack to use against the final boss in both routes, because it basically hits them for massive damage no matter what, and yeah. And this is where Ammon Ra becomes really good. The thing about Hieroglyphin is that 2 other personas get it, but they are like level 9, so Ammon Ra gets it Ammon Ra basically gives you access to this skill much earlier, so that makes him extremely viable, and a great choice on Ultimate Persona. So yeah, and also yeah, I think another thing about these Ultimate Personas too, they give really good stats, especially once you get them to high ranks. Like, Ammon Ra is going to give Naoya tons of strength, which is very nice. Allows him to use those physical attacks quite well, especially if they're neglecting your strength stat like I have. But yeah. His return item is not very good. It's a huge waste. It's an evil fire tablet. That allows you to use Miragidyne as an item, or you can use as a fusion item to get Miragidyne in Persona. But the problem is that you can just buy these in the casino. And I know what I want to do. Keep my one-of-a-kind Persona around and not turn them into an item you can just buy. But yeah, like I said, these return items are pretty terrible to be honest, but oh well. But yeah, Ammon Ra, great Ultra Persona, and yeah, a pretty great one for the first protagonist as well. Of course, they get a bit, I feel like they get a bit more interesting in later games, but like I said, Ammon Ra is pretty cool. For the buyer, I decided to use his Devil Summoner design, because it looks kind of like what he looks like in Persona 1. He does look a bit different, but that's okay. Anyway, nothing much else to say. Like I said, I really like Ammon Ra. He's a very nice Ultra Persona, and yeah, let's see what the other characters have to offer them. Lucky Sanomura's Ultimate Persona is Vidanti from Norse mythology. She is one of the trio of Norns who decide the fate of men. She represents the present, with her name translating to be, or what is coming into being. Due to being depicted as a beautiful woman and her relation to fate, this could explain why she is of the Priestess Arcana, and could also relate to Maki, as the fate of the world is dependent on Maki overcoming her insecurities. Anyway, you may notice that, well, she has like no official artwork, so I just used a sprite from, I believe, SMT, one of the SMT1 games, or one of the versions of SMT1, and yeah, it doesn't really look like what she looks like in game, but yeah, I couldn't really find much. Because yeah, Vidanti's not really seen in the series because of Norn. Because yeah, Norn is a demon or persona that you see in a lot of games. And yeah, Vidanti is basically a part of that demon slash persona. So yeah, there's really no point to see Vidanti in other games, but it is what it is. Norn's not in this game, but yeah. What's interesting is that the trio of Norns is in this game. So I did mention Schooled earlier, and actually no, I didn't. It was Ud that I mentioned earlier, and yes, Schooled is a very high level persona in this game, which we probably won't be seeing unless I like decide to grind for like hours. But anyway, enough about that. So let's talk about what Vidanti is like as a persona. But of course, you need a fuse her first. So my recommended fusion is Oberon with either Selka or Dawn. This is basically a fairy plus beast combination. And yeah, this results in a white right pointing arrow fusion. And thanks to Oberon, you'll be able to get Miragidyne. So that's a pretty good attack at rank 2. there's another fusion that you could consider doing as well. This one's potentially more risky, and I haven't tried doing it yet. Basically, there's an orange arrow, upward pointing arrow fusion. This time with Ubilaros with a fem, like either Dakini or Rangda, which results in, yeah, like I said, an orange upward pointing arrow fusion, which means higher chance of a fusion accident. But like I said earlier, I'm not 100% sure if you can get a fusion accident with a totem fusion. So yeah, save and see if it works, because if it does work, you can get a different element attack in the Magnetine, because yeah, Miragidine's an attack that a lot of Ultimate Stoners get, so you could try getting some different coverage on Vidanti, which could be nice. But yeah, if it doesn't work out, just do the first fusion that I recommended. That one works really well with the Miragidine. But anyway, she doesn't start out super great. Medea is very light healing. It's not going to top anyone off at this point in the game. Rakam is alright, but you can just buy Bombs of Life. Those are probably better to use. Diorama is only single target healing, so it's not that amazing. Azure Cessation is alright, but then things get really interesting at 7-8, and also yeah, Azure Cessation is quite bad if you decide to inherit Miragidine as well, because it's basically worse. But anyway, because yeah, both have high range, but Miragidine is stronger, obviously. But anyway, the two important skills are the ones at the end. Eternal White and Medea Rahan. Eternal White does damage to the final boss on Sepek, which is extremely important. And yeah, the damage is pretty good too, despite the fact that it's not as strong as Bright Judger, just because yeah, Maki is a really strong character, obviously. So yeah, her being able to do good damage to the Ultimate Stone is definitely very nice for the final boss. And then the other skill, of course, Medea Rahan. Very nice for the final boss as well. Healing off the damage that they can deal can be very, very useful. You can do that battle without healing if you have a very fast Makarakan user, but yeah, it's still nice to have around. And yeah, it's only a 20 SP cost Medea Rahan 2, and that battle can take a while. So, like for example, of course Armadi gets Medea Rahan 2 and a much lower rank, but she does cost 1 SP to use. So yeah, she normally does really, really well for me in the final boss, so I do really, really like Vidanti because of that. But anyway, she returns to the Holy Comet, which is supposed to be the ultimate bow for Maki. Both bows seem to outclass in terms of damage, like the Herald's Bow from Returning Odin, which also hits all enemies for its range or number of hits, but it's actually stronger. And then of course you have the weapon Ankara using the Papagino. Hits 2 to 4 times, making it much better for single targets, and also as a charm side effect too. And yeah, it even also has more attacks. So yeah, the Holy Comet's just kind of bad, to be honest. And yeah, definitely not worth giving up Vidanti for, because yeah, like I said, I really like Vidanti. Very, very decent Ultra persona, and definitely one that's worth keeping around in my opinion. And yeah, Maki is going to be doing a lot of good work with her. But anyway, on to the next one. King Nanjo's ultimate persona is Yamaoka, his butler who died earlier in the game during the zombie outbreak in the hospital. It is believed that his strong desire to protect Nanjo even after death is what caused him to transform into a persona. This is really, really interesting, because yeah, you don't normally see something like this in the series. Normally personas are always based on some figure from the past or a mythological being, but here we actually have just a character from the game that the persona user comes from. And yeah, like I said, this is really, really interesting. And yeah, I don't think it happens like pretty much anywhere else in the series. But anyway, this is a very strange persona, because for some reason it actually has a different arcana. It's a Judgment Arcana persona rather than Hierophant, which, yeah, I'm unsure why this is the case actually, or why they decide not to make it Hierophant. It could be for gameplay reasons, or maybe shows Nanjo's character growth, as Judgment represents self-evaluation and reflection, which could show that Nanjo has learned the issues with his approach to certain circumstances since they lack compassion. For example, when he decided that switching off the Deva system, which would cause Maki to lose a life, would be better for everyone. But yeah, of course that lacked compassion, and then Mark called him out for it. But yeah, like I said though, I'm very unsure why it's a judgment Persona, especially because in Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, he was changed back to a Hierophant Persona. Speaking of which, yeah, that's where the artwork comes from. It comes from his Persona 2 version. And yeah, it looks pretty awesome, not gonna lie. We got robotic, surfing, angelic butler over here. And yeah, it looks kind of different to what he looks like in Persona 1, but I couldn't really find a good, clean image of what he would look like in Persona 1. But oh well. So anyway, for Fusion, since he's a judge of Persona, Haunt plus Grave. White upward pointing arrow fusion, and this can allow you to inherit Mizandine from Zombie Painter. So this fusion just works so well for judge of Personas, so you might as well do it. Because yeah, Mizandine's super great, and yeah, Nanjo gets some pretty good use out of that. So Yamaoka itself is a very, very good Persona. Because he's a judge of Persona, he reflects basically all magic except for dark, and is only weak to a couple of physical attacks like spears and machine guns, for example. And yeah, this is also seen in his moveset as well. He's mostly support based, kind of like the Hierophant Archon as well. He starts with Lullaby, which could inflict sleep, which is alright, I guess. Then you'll get Mizandine, that's where most of his damage is going to come from if you decide to do the fusion that I suggested. Love Whip is kind of weak. It could be used to level him up if you don't want him to kill things, so that's really all I use it for. Dioran is single target healing, so you can back up heal a little bit. The main cool thing about Yamaoka, in my opinion, is Makaracon at rank 5. That's extremely useful for the final boss, because the final boss is an extremely dangerous attack that that would be nice if you could just block it. And yeah, Makaracon does exactly that. It's also great for Snow Queen class final boss because that thing uses tons of magic. So Nanjo will be able to protect his party from all that damage, which is very, very nice. And yeah, I also suspect that Makaracon is the reason why you may notice his SP cost is actually different. It used to be 20 in the PS1 version, but they changed it to 30 in the PSP version. And yeah, I do suspect that Makaracon has something to do with it. And yeah, rank 6 is Makoha, which is good for random encounters, but that's really it. Because yeah, it's a expel type damage, which means that it doesn't work against bosses. But yeah, it's very, very decent for random encounters and can do decent damage. Then finally there's Deadly Fist, which could hurt the final boss. The final boss doesn't like some physical attacks, so it could be good there, but yeah, Nanjo's probably just going to be using Makaracon a lot. So yeah, pretty decent for the final boss again. If for some reason you're heartless and want to return him, you get a quarter moon tablet, which you can buy at the Satomi Dadashi. Definitely not worth it. But anyway, like I said, I really love Yamaoka. Very, very cool idea for Persona. And a very unique idea too. And yeah, even if we see another Persona that's kind of like this, Yamaoka will still like stand out a lot just because of how really strange but awesome the design looks. But yeah, this is a great Ultimate Persona in my opinion. And yeah, it definitely makes Nanjo a great choice. Especially in like Snow King, for example. I think Yamaoka is one main reason why people like using him there, but there could be other reasons too. Anyway, let's move on to our next character. Misama Ginaba's ultimate persona should be a familiar one. It is Susano-o from Japanese mythology. He's been used as an ultimate persona quite a bit in the Persona series, as with the other games being Persona 4 and Persona 5, for your party members of course. I believe in Persona 3 he was a full Persona, maybe even the ultimate one. But anyway, so yeah, Susano-o is a very common figure in the series, not just Persona, but even other S&P games as well. But anyway, let's talk about Susano-o. He's the Shinto god of the sea and storms, and spawned from Izanagi when he washed away the filth from the underworld. And Susano-o appeared when Izanagi washed his nose. He is also siblings with Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun, and Tsukiyomi, the god of the moon. He also has a fierce rivalry with his siblings, which didn't always end well, like when he wreaked havoc on his sister's rice fields, defecating in a palace and killing one of her weaving maidens, which caused Amaterasu to hide inside Ammon Ra, which plunged the world into darkness. And yeah, that's also the story that relates to Ammon Uzume, who helped get her out of that. Ammon Ra. But anyway, Susano-o is very well known for this story. This story is also seen in the game Okami, which I have played in the past and I really liked. But anyway, let's talk about it. He's very well known for rescuing Kushinada Hime from Yamato no Orochi, as well as slaying the eight-headed dragon with the help of a strong sake. His great power explains why he's a member of the Chariot Arcana, and his story of rescuing Kushinada could relate to Mark doing everything he can to help Maki. So, for fusion, I decided to go with a fairy and jockey fusion, which will result in a blue downward pointing arrow fusion, and this can allow Oberon to inherit Miragidyne. But, if you want to, there's another option. A raptor and drake will give you the same fusion type, but you can use Hrsvelga to inherit Mizandyne if you so wish. So yeah, you have two options. The Miragidyne fusion is the lower leveled one, which is the one I recommend. Because yeah, Hrsvelga is higher leveled basically. Unfortunately for Susano-o, even though I really love his design, and yeah, I was actually able to get his Persona 1 design, I really like it. The skull theme just looks so cool with it. But unfortunately though, he's considered one of the worst Ultimate Personas, which is a shame. One of the main reasons is he doesn't really learn anything super outstanding. There's no like Megidolo or Megidolon here, despite the fact that Gozu Tenno and Satan Taisei are also Chariot Personas and they also get those skills. Instead, he's stuck with Eternal Black and Zandyne for really good attacks. Eternal Black is pretty decent because there's a lot of annoying light-based enemies and he's pretty good at taking them out. And Zandyne at max rank is cool, I guess. Zan is rarely resisted, but yeah, it would have been cool if he got Megidola at max rank instead. But yeah, one of the main reasons why he's not really well liked, especially for the final boss, he's weak to ice, which the final boss has, so he becomes quite the risky choice. But if you do decide to persevere, or you decide you're gonna try using Makarikon a lot, you can serve Mark decently well. He offers a good strength stat, as well as Bone Crusher and Deadly Fist, which both do decent damage to the final boss. Because again, they can be weak to physical, so physical attacks, so yeah, those can come in handy. But of course, Mark's regular axe damage may also just do the trick. Because yeah, he can do a lot of damage with those really high tier axes. But yeah, the fact that he also, and yeah, like I said before, because he lacks Megidola, he could look worse than Satan Taisei, because Satan Taisei can also be given bullets as well. So yeah, like I said, kind of an underwhelming Ultimate set, but I really love the design, and it does fit Mark pretty decently well too. But anyway, if for some reason you want to return him, he gives you the Kusanagi no Tsurugi. This is one of the swords that is associated with Susano-o slaying Yamato no Orochi. It's a strong single-hitting one-handed sword, but the Futsu no Mitama might be considered better since it hits multiple times. It doesn't require you to return multiple persona. So yeah, you could get it, but yeah, like I said, you're probably better off with other options. Like in most cases. But anyway, like I said, Susano-o a little bit underwhelming, but that won't stop you from using him and seeing that really awesome design. But anyway, onwards to the next persona. Even though Yukino is exclusive to the Snow King quest, I couldn't help but want to talk about her, mainly because her ultimate persona is Durga from Hindu mythology. She is the protective mother of the universe, making her one of the most popular Hindu deities. As a protector of all that is good and harmonious in the world, she is usually depicted with multiple arms so that she may always be ready to battle evil from any direction, as she also carries some weapons and items in these arms. Her being a mother goddess explains why she is a member of the Empress Arcana, which focuses on gods that emphasize feminine traits. She fits a Yukino since Yukino is considered a mother figure to her fellow students. So, and yeah, as you see there, I'm actually using her Persona 2 design because it looks kind of similar to what she looks like in Persona 1. It is a very interesting design, but then again, most of the Persona 2 personas do look pretty weird and interesting. But anyway, let's talk about the fusion. So this one's a femme and a brute. This results in a white upward arrow fusion, and this can allow Rangda to inherit Magridyne. Unfortunately, because she learns Maziodyne, you probably don't want to use the Kini, who also possesses the Maziodyne, so that's why I went with the slightly higher leveled option in Rangda. But anyway, she's decently well equipped for the final boss of the Snow King quest because she actually has pretty good coverage. Grieva's not that great. She'll also have, if you do this fusion, you'll get Magridyne at rank 2. Eternal Black is pretty decent. Again, there's definitely annoying light-based enemies near the end of the game, so taking them out is pretty nice with that Eternal Black. Wolfang is a physical attack. Not amazing, but like Sebek's final boss, the Snow King final boss may turn weak to physical, so having a decent physical attack might be nice. But at the same time, you could always use your own physical attacks, which may also do well. Gokuraku Fall could be alright, it's not that amazing, especially compared to the heavy stuff, and if I am a Zeodyne, not too bad. And works kinda well with Magridyne as well. So yeah, pretty decently well equipped Ultra Persona that can attack from a decent selection. She doesn't really do anything support based, which is kind of strange for this Arcana, because yeah, there are some personas that can heal, for example, so it is interesting that we see a persona that's basically all offense from this Arcana. Anyway, she returns for the Affinity, which is considered Yukino's ultimate weapon, although it does have all number attacks, and it's only slightly stronger than the Justice Coin, which also has all number attacks. Then there's the other weapons that multi-hit. These include the Enkella, which can be dropped from Dominion, and the Senkarinda, which can be dropped, or not dropped. This you need to return Mukalinda for, but that weapon is actually really strong, and probably recommend. But anyway, I do like Durga a lot. She's a very important Hindu deity, and it is cool to see her being an ultimate persona in this game too, because yeah, you don't really see her much Persona games, so, or SMT in general, so yeah, like I said, this is a really cool ultimate persona, and yeah, if I ever do Snow King quest, I definitely want to try getting it for Yukino. But anyway, onwards to the next persona. Time for one of the weirdest ultimate personas in this series. Yase's ultimate persona is Freyr from Norse mythology. He's also known as Frey and has a sister named Freya. If this sounds familiar, yeah, they're also in Power of the Heroes. But anyway, he is considered one of the most revered Aesir gods due to his followers' well-being and prosperity depending on his benevolence, which manifests itself as sexual and ecological fertility, bountiful harvests, wealth, and peace. His benevolence is why he is a member of the Magician Arcana, as they focus on magical and superhuman power. Anyway, he really doesn't fit a Yase at all, but his focus on sexual fertility could relate to Yase and a focus on her love life, and the bountiful harvest could relate to Yase's being a good cook. But yeah, I'm definitely stretching a lot with this. This is one of the least fitting ultimate personas for any character in the series, because especially since Kaori, her first persona, just fit her really well, but Freyr just doesn't, or Freyr should be saying is what he's known as in this game. Anyway, also yeah, he again doesn't really have any artwork, so I used the sprite from I think Margin Tensei for this bio. But anyway, let's talk about how he is as a persona. So for the fusion, I decided to go with a Yoma and a Fairy, which results in a blue upward arrow fusion. Unfortunately, I don't have that marked on the bio, but that's okay. But yeah, a blue upward arrow fusion, and this can give access to Miragidyne from either of the two materials, Oberon and the thing I can't pronounce the name of. It's the Aztec God of Fire, which will probably how I'd be referring to it. Or maybe it's Revelation's persona name, the Moe, but anyway. So yeah, he's decent. He hits decently hard with a good magical attack stat, and his physical attack isn't too bad either. Let's go over the attacks one by one, I guess. Magnara is okay, I guess. Miragidyne is pretty nice if you decide to do that fusion at rank 2. Magnara, and then Magdyne at max, or not max, rank 5. Again, that's really nice. It's basically just Miragidyne but earth-based, but yeah, still really decent for some random encounters. And yeah, with the good magic attacks, you might be able to clear some random encounters quite quickly with this. Rainbow Strike is really strange because it's basically random element, so it could be useful, but it might hurt you more than it will help sometimes. Gentle Wave is okay, I guess. And then finally, Destruction Smash is a physical attack, because it's axe damage, which could be useful for the final boss, because again, they can be weak to physical. And yeah, due to resisting ice, it's not like impeded too much by the final boss's attacks, especially if you keep using Makarikon. So yeah, this is a very decent ult-up persona. It's nothing too amazing, but it will get the job done. And yeah, that's kind of what it did in my last playthrough, because yeah, I did use Ayase last playthrough. And yeah, he was alright. A very solid ult-up persona, but yeah, nothing that really stands out. But anyway, for returning him, you get the Caesar leg. This is considered the ultimate leg armor, but the problem is that while it does offer good defense, I wouldn't consider a good enough increase when compared to the Jagd leg or the Sturm leg, and those can be easily bought. The Caesar equipment is kind of a crapshoot to get, so yeah, all of them require returning persona, and if you want them on everyone, well, good luck. Especially, even for the personas that can be refused, like I think the Caesar Helm, for example, you can refuse the persona for that, but yeah, it's gonna be very tedious if you really want that Caesar equipment on everyone. But yeah, unlike the Jagd and the Sturm equipment, it's not restricted by gender, which I guess is cool, but yeah. I wouldn't really give up Freyr for that equipment. I don't think it's really worth it. But anyway, like I said, this is one of the strangest sort of personas in this series. Its design also really just doesn't fit Ayase as well. Especially his, especially what he looks like in-game as well. Like I said, this is a very weird persona, and like I said, probably not very fitting, but yeah. Considering this is the first Persona game, yeah, I guess it's alright. But again, Haori just fit her so well, so it's a strange thing to see her get an ultimate persona that just really doesn't. But hey, things would get better in this series. We see a lot of great personas that fit their characters super well. So, it's okay that we have a few mistakes here and there, I guess. But anyway, onwards to the next persona. Eriko Eli Krishma's ultimate persona is Michael. Saint Michael, in fact, from Abrahamic mythology. He is one of the 4 archangels, and is viewed as the field commander of the army of God, a leader in the war against the devil, who is most likely Lucifer, especially in the SOT series, and the fallen angels. He fits with the Judge Arcana, as the theme is angelic beings, and could fit Ellie due to her love of angels and her fitness to fight off the demons, which we saw in the beginning. Of course, yeah, she was very excited to have Nike as a persona that represents her. But anyway, his design, it looks very different in in Persona 1 compared to what he normally looks like. I couldn't really find anything that fits, so you're just gonna get his regular good old design. Anyway, he's a judge of Persona, which means that the fusion is exactly the same as with Yamaoka earlier. You want to use a haunt and a grave, and by doing that, you can get Zombie Painter as your grave, and then he'll get Mazandine, which he uses very, very well. Let's just say this is a very strong alter persona. So yeah, he's a judge persona, so that means that he reflects all magic, but dark, and his skill set offers a lot of support options as well. He gets Tarot Culture at rank 3, which can be quite useful, especially if you want to use physical attacks a lot. The Culture could be useful. Removing boss could be nice. The final boss does use like some, so again, could be kind of useful. And then finally, Tetracon at max rank could be useful. Physical attacks definitely aren't as scary as magical ones, so it's definitely not as good as Karakon, but if you think it could be useful, it may well be. His damage isn't bad either. Deathbound at rank 1. Pretty decent attack, especially because you can boost it with Tarot Culture. Makoha is nice for random encounters. It would have been amazing if either Michael or Yamaoka got either Eternal Light or Bright Judgment for the final boss, but it is what it is. It's good for clearing out random encounters because of doing decent damage, and also the residual damage afterwards isn't bad either. And then there's like Paralyze, which is kind of random. You can use it to paralyze enemies if they're vulnerable. I believe it works well against dark weak enemies, which is kind of weird for Michael, but yeah. So yeah, this is a very, very decent alter persona. He proved pretty strong in my first playthrough, which was nice. Those Tarot Cultures definitely came in a bit handy for the final boss, because yeah, I was able to do lots of damage with my physical attacks thanks to that, and thanks to using it a good amount as well. So, I do find him very useful, and probably one of the better alter personas as well. He's definitely high up there. And I actually kind of like what he looks like in Persona 1 as well. He has this kind of cool looking design with the hat and the double sword. I don't know, there's something kind of really interesting about it. Anyway, if you want to return him, well, this is probably the best return item, but again, probably not like, probably not worth it considering how good this persona is. It returns for the Heaven's Gate. Probably the best rifle in the game because it has 0 to 7 hits, kind of like the Peacemaker that I mentioned earlier. This does mean that it has a really high damage potential, especially if the character has a good luck stat, which I do believe increases the chance of getting more hits. But yeah, it might not be worth it because yeah, this is a one-time fusion, so while the gun is great, I think the persona is worth a lot more. And yeah, it does mean that rifle users don't really get like something super great. You probably have to just make do with the Hydra jet that you can buy at the last shop. Anyway, if the name of the gun sounds familiar, that's because it's also in Persona 5. It's gotten from itemizing Uriel. In both versions, I do believe. It's a pretty decent gun from what I remember as well, but anyway, that's Michael. Pretty great alter persona, and yeah, he's considered a pretty good choice as well, and yeah, it's probably one reason why Eriko is also quite nice as Snow Queen as well. It's a very decent alter persona, and can definitely help you out a lot with its good support capabilities, and also very good damage with that fusion that I mentioned. But anyway, onward to the next fusion. Or next persona, sorry. Hideyuko Brown Isugi's alter persona is Tyr from Norse mythology. He is the god of war, single combat, victory, and heroic glory, as well as law and justice. He is depicted as a one-handed man since Fenrir bit off his right hand, but regardless, he is regarded as a very brave god. Due to his ties to war and justice, it makes sense that he is of the Justice Arcana, and his bravery could relate to Brown becoming braver by opening up about his past, as well as his bravery in battle as well. So, his design and the does look kind of cool. It's very different from how he's usually depicted, because he looks like he has a helmet and a different kind of missing hand. But yeah, it's a pretty cool design, not gonna lie. And yeah, I think it actually fits Brown pretty well as well. But anyway, for fusion, I went with Drake and Fem. Now, what's kind of interesting about Tyr, he's the lowest level Daughter Persona, level 54. The highest would be Ammon Ra at level 62, I do believe. Maybe it's tied with Michael as well. But anyway, this means that I've put together a pretty basic fusion that's also kind of low level. Bikini and Lucius. A Drake and Fem will result in, with a Drake and Fem resulting in a blue right pointing arrow fusion, so pretty good. You'll get Maziodyne from Bikini, but if you want to use something different, you could try Rongda, who gives Margridyne, but Maziodyne will just do the job well enough. Anyway, so his skills are alright, they're kinda weird though, not gonna lie. He starts with Lightning Kick, which could be good for the final boss because of its medium tech damage, but other than that, not super interesting. You'll get Maziodyne at rank 2 if you do that fusion, which is pretty good. Western Blow at rank 3 is okay, I guess. But he gets Zondyne at rank 5, which will outclass it probably. Margry at rank 6 is kind of a joke, not gonna lie. I don't know why they decided to give him that, but oh well. And then finally, the last skill is pretty interesting though. Binal Strike. He kind of like Hieroglyphin. Another persona gets it, but it's like a level 9 persona. Binal Strike works basically the same as when an enemy uses it. You use double your current HP to kill yourself and do lots of damage. And do that damage basically. This can actually do a lot of damage, especially if you decide to give Brown lots of HP, or keep him at high health. This can do like around 800 to 1000 damage once you're able to use them, I do believe. I think Hideyuka could get around 400, maybe 500 HP for the final boss. That could be a very overestimated prediction, but yeah. Like I said, this could do lots of damage. The problem is, well, you kill yourself. So, Bombs of Life might be needed to keep using it. And yeah, this and also because of the fact that it doesn't have a element basically, it will work against the final boss. So you could consider trying using it, but yeah, it is definitely a very high maintenance attack. Other than that, I did say you could try using against the final boss. Be careful though, he is weak to ice, just like Brown. Well, not Brown, Mark. So you have a weakness against the final boss, and yeah, they're gonna do a lot of damage. But yeah, this is definitely a very strange Alter Persona, but it could be lots of fun. It does seem like a lot of fun with that Binal Strike, and yeah, he'll do good damage on Maziodyne too, thanks to those good stats and a pretty decent magic attack as well, once it's leveled up. Anyway, this is kind of a strange return item, but he returns to the Gleipnir. This is a whip, which also means that it's completely useless if you're on Sebek, because there's no way to get both Brown and Ayase in the same party in Sebek. So yeah, this is only for Snow Queen basically, and even then, I don't think it's that good. So the Gleipnir is a whip that causes the bind stars. But unfortunately for Ayase, or I guess Brown maybe, I don't know, it's weaker than the Silver Medusa. That does more damage and can inflict stone, and to get it you need to return Succubus, which is a persona you can use multiple times. So yeah, there's an even stronger whip, but you need to get Tenjiku Tokabe and return him. And yeah, that's kind of rare considering it's a full persona. But yeah, the Silver Medusa just does the job well for Ayase, so yeah, no reason to try and get the Gleipnir in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, this is definitely another strange old persona, but it fits Hideyuka quite well. And it could prove lots of fun to use as well, especially if you are able to get tons of damage off with that Binal Strike. He has a good agility from what I heard too, so you should be able to get it off before the enemy attacks him. which does definitely help. He wants high HP, of course, to be able to use it. But anyway, onwards to the next persona. Reiji Kito's alter persona is a demon wanted for bestial abuse. Mott from Semitic, Canaanite, and Abrahamic myth. He is the Canaanite personification of death, and is also associated with infertility, drought, and the underworld. In the Bible, there are very few mentions of Mott, like a vague mention of personified death in the books of Hosea, Habakkuk, and Jeremiah. In Ugaritic mythology, he is one of the sons of the high god El, and is enemy to the weather god Baal Hadad. And yeah, this Baal is the Baal that's in most SMP games. Since Baal is associated with life thanks to his life-giving water, but Mott is opposed to life due to associating with desert dryness and the underworld. This resulted in a battle where Mott kills Baal, but gets dismembered by Anat. They then both get resurrected and fought again, but the sun god Shapish, I guess, intervened and informed that Baal has El's favor, so Mott retreated to the underworld and went Baal again. Due to being a personification of death, it makes sense that he is part of the Death Arcana, since the members are beings associated with death, and it fits Reiji Kito due to his change in Arcana. So yeah, now Reiji is of a different Arcana. He used to be Devil, but now he's of Death Arcana, which, this is really cool by the way, because the Death Arcana, because of what the Death Arcana basically symbolizes. So, Death Arcana symbolizes transformation, endings, change, transition, letting go, and release. You may notice that it's actually a very positive sounding Arcana, which is very strange considering the name of the Arcana, but yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, it shows that Reiji has moved on from his revenge of Kandori, which can allow him to make a positive change in his life. Like how Mott eventually stops fighting his mortal enemy Baal. Although yeah, Reiji definitely gets a lot more of a positive outcome from this. And yeah, and like other Persona games, despite the different meaning that the Death Arcana shows, the Personas are still associated with death, like they usually are. So yeah. But anyway, for fusion, you want a Haunt and a Spirit, which results in a blue upward pointing arrow fusion. A very good fusion. You want to either use Kuchisaki Onna as the persona to pass down or the demon to pass down a skill. If you're unable to get Kuchisaki Onna, which I can't blame you, she is a very hard demon to recruit, you could try Miya Sudokuro. This is an extremely high leveled Haunt, and that also passes down Mamudo. And yeah, that's the skill we want here. You could try other skills too, but that isn't really much. And yeah, it does mean that Mott does become very dark focused, but considering what he's mainly here for Reiji, I think that's alright. But anyway, so like other death personas, he has really good resistances and few weaknesses. As you see there, he nulls all element attacks, he's weak to light, he's weak to axe, but he also nulls curse, he drains death, he reflects nerve, so that means statuses can't touch him at all. And he also nulls Tekken Rush, which is quite nice. So yeah, nulling ice is actually really nice for the final boss too. So yeah, Mott definitely can help Reiji tank a lot. So anyway, his skills are interesting. They're mostly status based, which kind of fits with the defensive profile that he has. What we got is Maeha to deal lots of death damage. Along with Mamudo, light-based enemies have to run in fear from Mott. So, if they are an angel, he can just use Mamudo and kill them all. Or Divine, I should be saying. For other enemies, Maeha, like Beast for example, they're gonna get roasted by that. Because yeah, Mott definitely has a pretty good magic attack, and his stats look pretty decent as well, especially at the higher ranks. Some other attacks are kind of weird though. He has Wolven, which is cool I guess. Market Jam could be interesting. Petra Eyes is pretty strong. Because yeah, it does have a decent success rate. And yeah, stopping an enemy cold in their tracks with stone is quite nice. Finally, he gets Deadly Fist, which could be nice for the final boss because it's a physical attack. But yeah, you may notice there's no Dark Verdict here or anything like that. So against bosses, you can only really use Reiji's physical attacks or Deadly Fist. But that's okay. Reiji hits really hard with his fist. So, and then Mott can be used to basically just protect Reiji while he does that. You may want to pair Reiji with a if you're using Mott with Reiji, or other way around I guess, if you're using Reiji with Mott, you may want to consider an ally with Tarukaja, because then Reiji can then get his physical attacks bumped up, while Mott protects him from attacks thanks to his good resistances. That's mainly what Mott is good for. Anyway, his return item is extremely random and also again not very good. It's the Deadly Cross. It's a bow for Maki of all things. But unlike the Gleipnir, I mean it's still locked to one route because again Reiji's locked to spec, but at least Maki can make some use out of it I guess. But yeah, again, I wouldn't advise this. This is a strong bow. This is basically like the sword that Susano-o can give you. It's a strong one-hit bow. But the problem is that again, why use that? Why give up Mott, who's a pretty good persona, for when you can just use another easier to get bow like the Papa Juno? So yeah, that's the last of the ultimate personas. So yeah, this is fun to do. Kind of similar to what I did before with the initial personas too, so yeah, I wanted to do it again for these ultimate personas. If you found this interesting, for a bonus feature, I might do an episode where I talk about even higher level personas. If people are interested, of course. Because yeah, it could be fun to talk about some of those. Because yeah, there definitely are some interesting ones. I don't know if I'm going to show off all the Arcanas and the highest level personas in them, because some of them wouldn't be super interesting to talk about. Like for example, Lovers, which has Pyrojack, he's only a level 20 persona. Janus is good of course, but yeah, we've already, you know, quite well acquainted what Janus does. So yeah. Tell me if you want to see that as like a bonus part once I'm done with at least the main story of Sebek. And I'll see what I'll do about that. But anyway, so with all this information about the Ultimate Personas, actually I should mention one more thing too. If the enemies look unfamiliar, most of these can be found in the final dungeons. So a lot of them are around like the end of these final dungeons too, I do believe. So yeah, we'll be encountering them. If you're watching this, during like my LP, then yeah, we're gonna be seeing these enemies in a couple of parts time. But anyway, most of them I think. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, that's it. So next time we're gonna be using this information to maybe start fusing these ultimate personas. We'll see. Of course, I'm gonna need to grind to be able to show off most of them, because yeah, my party is definitely very lopsided at the moment. So yeah. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. But anyway, next time will be more of the video world, so look forward to that.